Ladies and gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, welcome into FFU Fantasy Football University. Coming at you yet again in the off season. We got a great episode coming at you guys today. I am here with, as always, Mr. Tom Lang and special guest again, Mr. John DeKouslis. Gentlemen, how are we doing today?
Doing good, doing good. Ready to roll. Ready to talk about some running backs.
It's okay. I'm glad I'm here to help you gentlemen get through this process with the running backs to help you guys win your league this year.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
appreciate that. We need all the help we can get, and we appreciate you giving your advice to our viewers and listeners.
That's
uh,
good.
Judge, jury, executioner, officer Johnny, however you want to refer to him, he'll be acting as our if we cannot agree, he'll be our mediator for this evening. But first, let's quickly just get into some news before we jump into running backs. So I had one interesting bit of news, which I think bolsters what me and Tommy were saying. Unless things change for quarterback stuff, I think Dak Prescott's going to be our biggest, like our maybe our favorite quarterback of the year. So Dak
Oh yeah,
Prescott, he declared himself fully healthy on Tuesday. He's fully healthy, full participant at the start of training camp. I mean, he's good to go. I mean, yeah, he's our best value in the draft right now, right, Tommy?
tremendous value. Tremendous value. Got such great talent around him, and he's being underdrafted. It's going to be amazing.
I can't see him being getting climbed up the the
This
the,
might be a
the
little
rankings
crazy. I
that
mean,
much.
honestly, this might be a little crazy to say, but like he might be like a better version this year, going into this year with the chemistry and, well, maybe not a better version, but equal version of Burrow and Chase with CeeDee Lamb and Dak. I think it's gonna be a great opportunity to draft. Draft what you call CeeDee Lamb in the first. Obviously, could be the fifth pick overall or sixth pick overall somehow, and then you go and get Dak in like the 10th round, 11th round. It's going to be amazing.
You might be right, and obviously the addition of Pickens is good, no matter what you want to
He's
say about him.
great.
He's a
He's
very
great.
talented
And I
receiver.
mean, Ferguson over there too.
You're
It's
high
just
on Ferguson, and also
yeah.
their bereft of running back situation does nothing except help this situation. So yeah,
Barrett. I mean, come on,
we'll get
Javante Williams,
we'll get to.
Javante M. Effin Williams.
I'm sure we'll talk about that today. There's some other little bits of news, like there's more, like Ken, we were getting on it in the offseason. There's lots of little news and notes about how things are going on at camp, like, guys moving in and out of depth charts and stuff. Take it with a grain of salt. I mean, everybody wants to talk up everybody, especially all the coaches and stuff, but definitely pay attention to like if somebody's getting all the volume or if somebody's like injured and not playing or something. So, for example, again, the whole Anthony Richardson situation, his injury is basically leading to Daniel Jones taking over that situation. So,
I told you it was going to happen.
well, not yeah, you predicted an injury. Any
I
other
predicted well, I mean, everybody could predict the injury with that guy over there with Anthony Richardson. Come on, the
any
guy has never played a full season his entire life.
it's going to be interesting. Any other major news from the past week you wanted to touch on?
Yeah, actually, what you call it, Wharfs, the left or right tackle for the
Tristan Wirfs. Yeah.
yeah, Tristan Wharfs, left or right tackle. He's right tackle or left tackle. Doesn't
He's
matter.
like doesn't matter.
Uh,
Amazing
He actually
offensive
is.
lineman.
He's on pay. He's basically in the record, basically with the statistics and all. He's the best tackle in the NFL. He is potentially going to be out, potentially maybe a quarter of the season. Well,
Right.
obviously we talked about Baker last week, but I think this is a really big hit on Baker, and because of the amount of pressure that's going to be put on him, especially in that division. But then also as we talk about the running back situation this week, we have not been so high on Bucky Irving where he's being drafted. I
And
do
this is
think
not
he's going
going
to
to
have a
help.
nice. No, I don't. I think he's gonna have a nice year, but it's gonna be more of a towards the end of the year. And also, I mean, obviously, White's still back there as well too. So yes, Bucky Irving's a great talent. We'll talk about him in a little bit, but I think this is really gonna hurt that offense for a short period of time, unless somebody could step up. But I mean, to to step up and be the to anchor the best tackle in the league, it's gonna be really difficult.
Yeah, I I don't know how much of a hit it takes on Baker. I mean, we'll reassess that kind of, but yep, I will, and we'll get to him today when we talk about Bucky. We have not been feeling good about it, so we'll touch on that today.
Yeah.
Johnny, any other quick news we missed?
Nope, ready to roll.
Ready to roll?
He
All
just
right.
wants to like, get into it.
This is going to be good. Let's just jump right into this. So, yeah, Tommy, just quickly explain. I'll pull up our makeshift tier list situation here.
Yeah, so we're going to be obviously talking about just like last week we did quarterbacks. This week we're going to be do running backs. Billy and I are going to really discuss and put together our tier list for running backs where we feel that they are, we project them or we feel really high on them. This is not based on ADP. In a sense, it does conflict. It does go with ADP in a sense, but. These are players that we're not really like putting an ADP tag to it right now. We're talking about like potential where we see them against one another, talent wise.
And we're also like we mentioned, we're kind of splitting the difference between PPR and full PPR. We're going to go half PPR. That's the way that we're looking at this. So let's jump right in. I know just from conversations with Tommy just throughout the year how he feels about Saquon. He knows how I feel about Bijan. So normally I would have Bijan in a tier of his own and then Saquon. I know that Tommy has Saquon and then Bijan. So I think we're going to split the difference and go Bijan and Saquon here. Do you have any objections, Mr. Tom Lang?
Um, no, I don't, but I also do feel that there's another player in Jahmyr Gibbs that needs to fill in this role as well too. So I
So
think that
let's
there's
let's
I do think based on each one of these players honestly has there are risks, but there's such a great reward. And the risk I would say with Bijan is you have Michael Penix as the starting quarterback. I mean, it could be a risk. Technically, this is year one for him. He looked decent at the end of the year, but I mean, you can't lean 100% on the run game every single time. The other thing with Saquon, obviously, he put a lot of, he touched the ball a lot last year. He was great, fantastic. Um, and they're probably going to lean towards throwing the ball a little bit more this year, I think. And then the same thing with Gibbs. His issue is obviously potentially the coaching switch right over there. So not having Johnson over there. But again, there's obviously risks with every single player going to draft. Nothing's going to be perfect, but
sure.
these players have the greatest potential to be number one, finish off number one.
Yeah, so let me counter you on the Gibbs situation. If you were to talk to me a couple months ago, I'd probably agree with every one of your sentiments. However, I have fallen just a bit on Gibbs. Let me name the reasons. So obviously they lost Ben Johnson. They lost their backup offensive coordinator. I forget the guy's name. He's now the offensive coordinator in Chicago. On top of the fact is the superstar center. I'm gonna forget his name. Ragnow,
Right
something like
now.
that. Ragnow, superstar center for the Detroit Lions. Their offensive line has been their boon. He is now retired. On top of the fact that it seems like the rest of the division is just improving, I've fallen just a bit on kind of Detroit slightly, and just Gibbs. Like I can't make an argument to myself of taking Gibbs over Bijan or Saquon, and I know you can't. That's why I kind of see him differently. Um, like I kind of have let's just bring up the guys in the next tier. So I've got Gibbs in the same tier as McCaffrey and Ashton Junty. So what do you have as the next guys here?
So I actually have two players in the next tier,
Oh, who
and
do you
I,
have?
I I just I don't know if I could put Ashton Genty in that tier as of yet, but I will actually put Derrick Henry and Christian McCaffrey actually in the next tier.
Okay, so
But
we
again,
agree on McCaffrey.
I don't see Gibbs in that category. I see Gibbs in the Bijan Saquon category. Just because he's as explosive, if not more explosive than both of those guys. He's going to touch the ball technically less, but he's going to be healthy as he's going to be touching the ball less, on the field. So, and he's a reception running back as well too. So that takes in consideration. He's going to potentially catch anywhere from 60 to 70 balls this year. So, I mean, talking about PPR, that's great value. Now, the reason why I put Henry in that category in the next
Sure.
tier is because of his touchdowns. I don't believe that he's going to see a regression there. McCaffrey, receptions, and also I honestly technically could put McCaffrey if he's 100% healthy, which he's saying he's 100% healthy this year. I could probably put him in tier one,
Gotcha.
but I need to see I need to see him step on the field and be Christian McCaffrey before that. So, personally, there's three guys in tier one for me, and then two guys in tier two for that, and then I feel like I can move on from there. But I mean, why do you feel without seeing Ashton Genty basically touch the
Sure.
field on the NFL field? Like, how can you see? I mean, I understand we really think that he's going to do extremely well this year, but how can you feel to put him in tier two?
Because
On that
I know how
offense.
I know how you feel about Henry, so I'm not gonna I won't waste time comparing to Henry, but it's just going to be a she. First of all, I believe in his talent, but a gigantic amount of volume. Now we've got a situation where talent is going to meet volume, and basically every single time that we've had these highly touted rookie running backs coming in and getting drafted this high, every one of them works out. They're all finishing top five, top four. I could go down the list. Saquon, Bijan, Najee finishes the running back for himself. Ezekiel Elliott. I can just go down the line here. It's just it's to me it's such a to your point about people
Yeah,
about protecting
you're
yourself
talking
against bust.
about
He is not going to bust. That's
talking
why I
about
say
the
no.
offenses where they were on at that time when they were drafted as well too. I mean, I don't you're talking about a completely new offense for the Raiders.
Saquon joined a horrific New York Giants team at the time too. I mean,
Eli Manning was still there. It was no, it
uh,
wasn't that bad.
we're gonna get the judge to rule in on here, but I have one more name that actually fills out my top three tiers. So I have Devon Achan, who I've risen on, um, basically due to the fact of Jonnu getting traded, like there and obviously I think that Miami's not going to be that well. That's keeping him from rising up, but I've risen a little bit on him. Do you even remotely have him in the top three or top two tiers? You
I
don't?
have him in three.
Okay.
I
Who
have
else?
him at three. I have him at three because of the fact that he can't stay on the field a full year. And if he could stay on the field a full year, he does miss a couple plays during the regular game. He's going to tweak his hamstring because of how fast he is. He's going to take some hits, and he's not gonna be able to get those goal line touches when you need them sometimes.
Okay. All right, so let's make some compromises and then we'll have Johnny judge the rest of it. So Gibbs, I'll compromise with you. I'll put him in tier one. I'll put him at the back of tier one. Um Derrick Henry, oof, I don't see him in the same thing as McCaffrey, but I know you do, so I'll compromise there. But then you have to allow Ashton Johnson to be in that second tier because it's just to me it's so safe. It's just so safe. You're not going to mess up your draft like this. Um, Johnny, why don't you weigh in what we got here?
So Genty belongs in tier two for a couple of reasons. Geno Smith is going to bring a lot of stability to the quarterback position for Oakland. I'm sorry for Las Vegas. They have not had in a considerable amount
Tommy
They are
doesn't think
moving
that's an
back.
argument.
They are moving back to Oakland.
of two, the entire offense is going to be Bowers and Genty. That is literally the entire offense. So of the 60 or so snaps they're going to see
Right.
offensively, 40 of them are going to go to each of those guys. So just by sheer volume, he's just going to get too many touches, not end up in this tier. So, I mean, he's also a wonderful talent to watch in college, and I think that will translate to the NFL. Is he going to have a 2,000 yard kind of season? No, I don't think that's in his future because it's still the Raiders. But I do think that the Las Vegas is moving in the right direction, and so I think he's going to be in this tier.
Okay. Okay. Tommy, who
I
else
can
do you have?
I don't really need to counter that. I mean, I can agree that Genty, based on the perspective of what to anticipate from him, can fit in that number two spot, and it's safe to put him there because where he's also ADP wise, where he's being drafted, where you're looking at, drafting these kind of players. And he is ahead of, let's just say for example, he is ahead of Bucky Irving. He is ahead of Josh Jacobs. He is ahead of, Kyron Williams.
It's gonna be a
So
while.
yeah,
It's gonna be a while before we get to Bucky Irving. That's knowing how we both feel about him.
yeah.
I
Who
would
else?
uh I would caution the both of you on CMC because he is a bit long in the tooth at this point, and Brock Purdy just got paid. I don't know if Derrick Henry's going to finish in this tier of guys. I have I'm sorry, CMC is going to finish in this tier of guys. I have a level of hesitation with that, but if you guys think he belongs in tier two, then that's what he'll sit.
Yeah,
I
he's gonna finish in tier one by the end of the year.
I know it's funny because Tommy and like it's funny like we end up compromising in different things. Like I think like I we believe McCaffrey's here. By the way, big asterisk. It's like if you don't believe that he's going to finish the year, you think he's going to get injured or something, then fine. You don't have to. You could maybe grab Ashton Junty if you want to be super safe. Because
I,
if
and
nothing else, Ashton Junty is a safe pick. But if McCaffrey is healthy and he plays the year, he is going to finish as a top one or two running back. San Francisco is the easiest schedule in the NFL, on top of the fact they're going to be good. Like, there's no way. And we all
I
say all
mean,
the go ahead.
I mean, especially if he's healthy. I mean, they lose Debo Samuel. So that was a massive backfield talent
A,
as well
a,
for them.
addition by subtraction too.
Yeah,
Yes.
but like you put it in that perspective. I mean, honestly, I mean, I could see, in a sense, a dual running back situation, but in a sense, at times. But McCaffrey's going to get the primary targets. He's going to get the primary run, and he's gonna. I mean, he might be back if he's 100% healthy, which it sounds like he is. I mean, if you take a whole year off and you go to Germany and get your calves fixed, you should be good to go. He spent Oktoberfest in Germany.
Right.
That's what he was doing. He was drinking beers out there. So he's 100% better. He's 100% ready to go. And I think that he also might be your anytime touchdown, week in, week out. Put money on that boy.
I think it's going to end up being a good idea. Your point's well taken though, Johnny. We've been advertising in I guess it's like the 11th round. If you draft McCaffrey, even go earlier than that, you need to draft Garendo. There's no questions about it. All right, let's get on to the next tier. Tommy, I'll just say like I had Achan and Henry in this tier on their own, but whatever, like I've compromised with you on Henry. So if you want to put Achan in the next tier, who else I have in the next tier of guys?
I'll put Achan in tier two, and I'll
Ugh,
compromise with you because of the fact that he does receive the ball, and he is going to be a kind of swing pass kind of receptions out of the backfield kind of guy, especially if Tua, um, you know, throughout the season he's not going to be throwing deep balls every single play, so he's going to need Achan to open the field.
I suppose this is fair, right? Because I might see Ashton ahead of these guys, but you see Henry above all of them. I see
Yeah, I mean, and
Bijan
then
ahead.
also, I mean,
Right, you can make an argument. That's
In
fair.
Miami, you got now you got the Walrus out there. You got Darren Waller basically blocking. After he basically Christian McCaffrey himself, for a season, and now he's back.
That's
He was
this
he
is
was rap guard, rap legend Darren Waller for a
That's
year.
true. I forgot he did a whole rap thing. This is just
Yeah, it was it was it was
ironclad
it was
logic here.
pretty horrendous.
All right, so let's get into the next tier. So in the next tier for me, I have three names. I've got Josh Jacobs, Jonathan Taylor, and Kyron Williams. These kind of workhorse, uh, kind of lower upside, but just they're going to get volume on the workhorse for their team guys. Do you have the same names or do you have anything different?
So I got Jacobs, Taylor, Williams, but then also actually technically I'm falling I'm not falling in love, but I'm falling in lust with Alvin Kamara back again. And
I have him in the next one. So
the reason why I feel,
we're gonna feel
you
the
know,
exact same way. Go ahead.
I'm higher on him. He's not going to get 250 carries. He's going to probably get 200, maybe 200 to 190 carries this year. But he's going to get like
In 6 games.
he's gonna have like 150 like not receptions but like targets this year. And so I just don't know how I can't put him, if it was a better situation with the quarterback position over there, quarterback play, then I probably could put technically him in tier two. But tier three at a value where his ADP is, I think that's a tremendous opportunity to draft somebody, and to put him in the same category as Kyron Williams, Taylor, and Jacobs. I mean, Jacobs, I think, is at the highest of tier three. And then Kyron and Taylor are pretty much the same, are equals. Um, But I mean, finishing off tier three, I really think that we need to put Alvin Kamara in there. It's just he's such a great talent. If I mean, if he doesn't sit, and the only my only kind of fear with him is if they're 0-10 and then they just sit him for the rest of the season, then you just screwed a draft position. But
I doubt that. Like they keep extending his contract and something they're gonna want to use him. And there's no other. You don't have to convince me on anything that you're saying about Kamara. We know he's going to be the entire offense for at least for the first couple of weeks out of the year, which is. And I was talking to Johnny earlier before we got on the air. Like the first couple weeks of the year are by far the most important because you could reassess, you can trade guys that you think that they're as high on. So
yeah, and
like
I honestly I think Jameis Winston finds his way back over there. I think it's like I'm like 99% sure Jameis Winston will finish the season over there.
you might be right. It's because right now it's Tyler Show or whatever his name is. So I had Kamara because I think his value in the first 6 weeks of the year is going to completely outvalue his value for the rest of the year. That's why I don't have him this high. And right now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. If we have Kamara here, we're suggesting he's going to be a running back one. Me personally, I can't see him being a running back one for my team. That's why I don't have him here. Johnny, how do you feel about Kamara? A little early or no?
This is for me very early. I don't see him anywhere near the RB1 territory whatsoever for, the lack of quarterbacks that they're going to have in New Orleans and the absolute mess that they are in New Orleans right now. So
I'm gonna ask you guys two things, right? Would you take Kamara over Bucky Irving?
Yes, I would.
no,
I know
Okay.
Johnny does. Johnny's low on
Would
Kamara,
you
but I
take
would.
would you take Kamara over Chuba Hubbard?
Yes. hmm
no.
Can I give you the two names that I'm thinking of because I have him in my next tier. The next two names that I have is Chase Brown and Brees Hall, both of which I would take over Kamara.
I would take Kamara over him.
You would take Kamara over Chase Brown. Remember, I don't even have to explain to you how awesome
Yes.
Chase Brown was like last year, and they did nothing to really like Zach Moss again or
100% I would take
Khalil
Kamara over
Herbert.
Chase Brown.
I just I don't see it. You would take
Well, there-
Brees
and
Hall over
and
Kamara?
I would take Kamara over Brees Hall.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. I
I
don't
and I'll say this: Chase Brown is not a big guy. He's a very scat back kind of guy. He does well at what he does. The problem I have with him is he has 1 year under his belt, and not only that, but the fact that he jumped in there, he was the only opportunity basically in the offense at that point in time. He flourished. He did very well. The issue is now being on the field so much. I think they're going to be throwing the ball because they're going to be behind so much. So I mean, I think the gameplay is going to be throwing the ball, and he's not really going to see the same stats that he saw last year. That's how I feel about him. Brees Hall. I just don't feel good about the Jets. You got
I
you have Justin Fields back there. I mean, I'm not a Justin Fields guy, and honestly, like he Justin Fields is going to take carries away from Brees Hall when Brees Hall like the play is specifically targeted towards Brees Hall getting 3 yards. Justin Fields will be like, oh no, I could get 30, so he's going to scramble with it instead of handing it off. So I just can't trust that kind of player in a tier four category as of right now.
this is a fair point. I thought I had to think long and hard about how I felt about Brees Hall in this situation. Um, to me, he is the lead guy. He's a workhorse. We've seen him be that way. We've seen him be awesome. We've seen him have some issues last year, but it was a really tumultuous
But
year
he has
last
great
year.
talent
I,
behind him as well too.
I don't think that well, he's got the one guy, he's kind of more of a thunder guy to his lightning. You always want the lightning guy. I think Brees Hall is in line for a very good year, considering it sort of it doesn't really matter how bad necessarily. They're not going to be awful, the Jets. They might not be, they're probably middle of the pack of what they're going to be doing. Who else? All right, before we'll leave them on the side with the Chase Brown. Who do you have in tier four? These are remember now, these are guys you said you would take Kamara over. So who do you have in your next tier?
No, well, I don't say I think Kamara's in tier three, so I wouldn't take him over.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You said the following guys that you would name. I'll split the difference with you. I'll put Kamara at the top of tier four, I mean, clearly I see it. Clearly we see a difference between guys like
Okay.
this and
So
Kamara.
then after that, I got Josh Jacobs, I got Jonathan Taylor, and I got Kyron Williams.
Right, who we have. So then who do we have? I have Chase Brown and Brees Hall in again in the same tier as Kamara. Do you have them too here or no?
No, no, I don't. I got it, but I got James
Interesting.
Cook and I got Chuba.
And I got them in the next tier. All right, so then we're gonna get into some disagreements. So let's put this is what I have. I have Chase and I have Brees Hall, and you have Cook and you have Chuba, right?
Yep.
I have and now I have Cook and Chuba in the net in my next one, and you have Chase and Brees in your next one.
Yeah.
All right, so then it's interesting. Let me give you the notes on Cook. I'm worried that he was a little bit too touchdown dependent. Johnny brought up to me earlier today that he's has this situation with his contract. He may or
Yeah.
may not even have a contract by the start of this
He
year.
will play.
So that just keep something to keep into the back of your mind. Chuba, I have nothing against Chuba. I love Chuba. I think he's underrated where he's currently I think he's being currently underdrafted. But
So
yeah, go ahead.
so I'll agree. I'll agree and disagree with you. I
Go
think
ahead.
if we swap one player out of each of those categories, if we I'll keep Chase at tier four, but I have to move Chuba up to tier four and bring Brees down to tier five.
And you want to bring Brees to tier five.
Yep.
Or we can say like if we're having a difference of opinion, we could put them all in the same tier together, basically. Yeah, that seems
Tier
more
four at 4B.
well, I guess whatever you want to call it. Chase, Cook, Chuba, Brees. I mean, that seems fair enough. I mean, so I have now I had in the same tier at the end of this. This is finally at the end of this tier where I had Bucky Irving. So do you have Bucky Irving after this, or did you have them in the same kind of thing?
I can settle putting Bucky Irving in this category because the reason why now I'll have Bucky Irving in tier five, I perceive him as an RB2. He will put up RB1 numbers probably a quarter of the year. Um, but it's going to be I think it's going to be more middle to late of the year when you're going to start seeing those numbers happen.
I
Um,
agree.
and I think right now, the people that will draft him will be scattered and freaking out a little bit and trading him, and he would be a good, buy product by week 4 or 5, because of the Wirf situation.
The point is
Um,
I agree with you. The point is the
but I
go ahead.
agree. You could put Bucky Irving in tier five with those players.
So, and my issue, I agree with every one of your sentiments. After these guys here, to me, there's a drop off. And let me give you the next names that I have, and then we'll get to more fun stuff. So I have in here, I've got five names. I've got Joe Mixon, James Conner, I've got Kenneth Walker, I've got DeAndre Swift, and then I've got Brian Robinson, who we've been calling out as a value, which is if he's going here.
This is a
And
tremendous value if he's going here.
yeah, and I know you and I agree. So do you have the same guys here? Are you lower or higher on any of these guys?
So in this category here, I potentially would drop in Amarian Hampton.
Let's save him. Let's save him. I've got a whole conversation about rookies we'll have together. So let's save that.
Well, I mean, let's not, because I think he should be in tier six.
Or is there
And the
any
re
is
and the
go
reason
ahead.
is because the reason he's more electric. He was one of the highest prospects. He's a first round pick. He's one of the highest prospects as a running back to come out and be drafted by a elite offensive line, run team. And they're going to be running the ball. I mean, they obviously have um, a whole new backfield back there with Najee Harris and obviously Omarion Hampton. But I think um, Hampton's really going to take a lead role there. I think Harris is going to he's going to be named the starter, but I don't think that means anything. I think that Hampton's basically just going to take over, like how how Montgomery at one point was named the starter and Gibbs flourished. I think that the same kind of situation is going to happen, but it's going to be basically a more one-sided situation with Hampton basically, taking the rock.
I think you're being a little bit bullish on that. I think that
Oh,
issue takes
John,
a little
John
bit.
Harbaugh loves his young running backs.
Is there any before we get back to Hampton, every other guy on this list you agree with being here, right?
Yeah. Connor's a dude. He's gonna get his touches. I mean, is it the year of regression? Who knows? It's always talking about the year of regression.
I know, but
But he
he's the
always he
guy
always
for at
proves
least one more
everybody
year,
wrong.
right? Um, Johnny, I'm gonna start bringing up a lot of the rookies and like what Tommy just said about Hampton, but so just to point out the numbers here, so of the names that we have on here, this is 21 names. So right now, every one of these guys would be considered a starting running back for your team. I considered there to be a fall off after this because after this, we start getting into questions about who's the starting running back, which is going to be my point to Tommy. But are there any other names that you would have up here in the starting running back category?
For top 24,
Right. I've got 20,
Aaron.
we got 21 up here. Right.
Okay, and then Aaron Jones belongs here. Travis Etienne belongs here,
We'll get to them. We'll get to
and
them.
Tyrone Tracy.
Actually, you just reminded me. I missed Travis Etienne. I did have in this tier with these guys.
I,
Um,
I'm
when
I'm with
healthy,
you. I think ETN is a value currently where he's going. I mean, it was an
tremendous
awful
value.
year.
He's going in the 10th, 11th round,
I
and
know.
he's a starting running back.
I'm actually inclined to agree here. I can't. There's no point spending any more time. We agree on that. All right. So let me bring up. So Tommy, let me address the Hampton thing, and let me bring up. I got a lot of names to bring up here. So we've got. I actually didn't really know how I wanted to put this into a tier. Maybe you can help me. We have a lot of backfields that there's a presumptive starter and there's the guy that we think is going to get lots of the touches at least in the beginning of the year, but there is a question as to how long he keeps that, and we feel really good about their backups taking it over to the end of the year. Let me give you some examples. The Chargers, Najee Harris and the Hampton situation. Denver, Dobbins with Harvey behind him. New
Yeah,
England,
but I'm staying away from Denver.
New England, Ramondre Stevenson and Henderson. Cleveland, Jerome Ford and Judkins. Pittsburgh, Jalen Warren and Caleb Johnson. The Giants, Tyrone Tracy with Scatterboo in the background. Minnesota, you've got Aaron Jones, who's the presumptive starter. We feel great about Mason taking that over. You got the Tennessee situation. You've got Pollard, but then you got Spears behind him. And I just thought I'd mention, like we keep mentioning this about Javonte Williams, but they did draft a good rookie running back in Jaden Blue, who's been all over, if you believe it, all over draft Twitter. I mean, so maybe at some point he takes over.
Yeah, I
I,
understand what you're saying. I understand that sentiment right there, but like honestly, like if you look at the kind of player that's going to be coming into the backfield over the guy that's basically there or you're perceiving as the starter, right? There's two teams that I just have to lean towards these players getting the
right.
first, the primary carries. It's Cleveland. I think, Judkins is basically going to overshine Ford, and Hampton is going to overshine Harris.
I guess, but I don't. I think that's going to take a while to happen. Remember now, we've got 22 names up here. If you were to draft, because this is where you have to be drafting them. If you had Hampton here, he's a starting running back for you.
Yeah.
He might get 5 carries a game for the first 4 or 5 weeks.
No, he's not a starting running back. He's an RB2.
He's starting on your starting team. Like
Yeah, he's starting. He's an RB2. I feel confident with him basically being an RB2, and I feel tremendously confident towards the end of the season
five
when you need
carries,
him.
5 carries a game for the first 6 weeks. It's very
Five
possible.
carries, five to six carries and a touchdown. I'll take that.
Johnny, how do you feel about that?
About a Mario Hampton over here. I mean, yeah, if you
Let's
want
say
to put him,
let's lump in. Let's get a couple of
But
the
listen,
more
listen. His
prominent names.
five his five carries will be tremendously more valuable than basically Quinston Judkins 5 carry that he might be able to potentially get.
I think
I
Quentin Judd.
think yeah,
Go ahead, Johnny. Yeah.
so. I think you guys are losing sight of even some of the guys in the sixth tier that you are going to take the backup. Like, easy example, ETN. You're taking Bigsby. Like, he is on your roster. There's a plenty of other guys' names you can go through here that are going to fit under that category. If you're taking Mario Hampton, you are taking Najee Harris. they are a handcuff deal. There's plenty of like if you're taking the rookie from New England, I'm forgetting his name, you're taking Ramondre Stevenson as
Yeah,
well.
Trevion Henderson.
Yes. If you're taking Aaron Jones, you're taking Jordan Mason. So for a lot of these guys, yes, they're low end RB2s, but it's not just a matter of taking that back. You're also going to take the handcuffs to that back because either it's going to be about a 50-50 split and you need both of them, or two, that rookie that is on that roster is eventually going to take over that position later in the year, but not necessarily in the first 6 weeks.
Yeah, but
So you
sorry, Johnny, go ahead.
No, so you as a fantasy player have to make a decision on if you're gonna essentially punt the football on your probabilities in order to get a bye, but you want to have a strong team going into the playoffs if you want some of these rookies that may pan out for you. So
So let me push back on that. Tommy and I have very similar opinions on this. Very, very rarely do you want to be drafting a quote unquote handcuff running back, only for very, very specific guys, top tier kind of running backs, guys like you got McCaffrey and then you have Garindo, for example. Otherwise, you're drafting quote unquote handcuffs or like you're locking down a backfield. Remember, you'd be spending multiple picks in a draft to getting two guys that may or may not be showing up as a running back two if you're lucky, on top of the fact that you're going to be locking down two roster spots for what is otherwise an more amorphous situation in some of these
well,
backfields.
I mean, you're not just going to have two running backs on your roster for the entire year. You're going to have for about four backs that are sitting in your entire roster as it is. So it's not like you're holding an extra spot or position for no reason.
Right. I just it's a tall order to take. It's a tall order to take. I will say that
Especially where some of these players are going to be drafted. Like you can't overvalue one backfield over a multitude of opportunity.
Tommy, let me throw a name at you. We were discussing earlier. So Pacheco. So remember now, like we only got 22 names up here. Would you feel more comfortable with a starting running back? Okay, he's coming back. He's like maybe he has a better year. Pacheco over any of these other amorphous backfields.
Um, in this place right here, I see Pacheco and Aaron Jones in the same category. So if we're gonna put Pacheco in one of the in this sixth tier,
No,
right?
I'm just asking. Yeah.
No, I mean, so yeah, I mean, I don't see him at that level. I mean, can he be at that level? 100% because he's proven it. He's proven to be a top five back in fantasy. Um, but I see him and Aaron Jones in the same category.
I mean, Aaron Jones is another one. Like you and I feel great about Jordan Mason. I mean, the Aaron Jones clock is ticking there. I mean,
Yeah,
from
but
from a fantasy perspective.
yeah, but I get it. But when you have a rookie, basically a rookie quarterback coming in, they're going to lean towards the run. So I think both of those players are going to have the same kind of perspective of, you know, getting the ball and it's going to be more of a 70-30. Unfortunately for Justin Jefferson owners, it might be a 70-30 split running the pass. So
How about the current high value RB2s on like we call like the dual running back team. So we got David Montgomery and Rashad White.
well, Rashad White is booty.
So his time is done, you think?
Yeah.
Okay. What about David Montgomery?
Well, David Montgomery is fantastic. I mean,
Right.
I'll take David Montgomery over Brees Hall.
All right. Eh, That's well, you know you wouldn't. You know you
No,
wouldn't.
I would. I'm so low on Brees Hall. I'd rather take I'll take David Montgomery over
All
Bucky
right,
Irving.
all right, well then you have ugh. All right, well then we have to put Montgomery here then. So this lines us up for this gives us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. That gives us 23 backs. I wanted to try to get to 24 backs before we start getting into the rookies, to be honest, because
That's fine.
I do think they're a little bit overpriced. Again, everything you're saying might be right, but that could take a while to get to that point.
All right, so if we're gonna have to put another play in this category, I would feel more comfortable putting Isaiah Pacheco.
You would take Pacheco here.
Yeah,
Johnny,
Pacheco over Pollard over. I mean,
I
I
left.
love Hampton, but I'd rather go for a player that has a chemistry on that offense, so you know he's going to take over the one running back position. So
Okay. Johnny, so you don't have to agree with necessarily all these guys, but what we're saying, we're going back and forth on a lot of these rookies. So are there any that stand out to you, or do you agree more with me? It's going to take a while, or do you think some have some initial value faster?
Most are going to take a while to actually catch on, hence why you're going to take both running backs in whatever backfield that is.
If you
I don't
do
think
that.
this I don't think that's necessarily a bad idea, also just for rookies in general. But besides the rookie argument, let me give you an easier example. Pollard
Sure.
and Spears in Tennessee. Okay.
Right.
They're not rookies, but you're going to take both of them if you're taking the backfield. Is that a fair assessment?
I don't think I maybe it's like taking your shot, like where Spears is going much later, obviously, but Pollard, it's like, okay, do you think he's going to be the guy? Like, I'm going to waste two picks to try to get a
I love
mediocre backfield
I love Spears this year
for where
Well,
he's going.
you're trying to have a backfield that you're almost guaranteeing a larger percentage of touches than on somebody that you throwing out there, throwing a Hail Mary for. So you're looking at a little bit more consistency for that position rather than somebody's going to give you boom or bust, a
I see.
higher floor. So
I see what you're saying. All right, let me for the sake of what Tommy's saying. By the way, I do think Judkins should be mentioned. Like, I think Judkins takes that job over faster than any of the other guys. But the problem is he's going to be on such a garbage team that, like, how much is that going to?
that's why I lean towards Hampton over all these guys.
All right, so I'm going to list them out here because this is right about where, like, after you filled out your starting backs, where I feel much more comfortable taking it. Hampton, Harvey, Henderson, Judkins, uh, Caleb. We should mention like I still think Jalen Warren. It's going to be so hard for him to take that over. Draft Twitter seems to think he's going to just walk in and take it. Scatterboo. Um, and then I mean I wanted to give just a special mention
How can
to.
you put how can you put Scatterboo over basically Tracy?
Well, you're right. I shouldn't. You're right. I shouldn't do that. Like, it's not. But why are we putting Caleb Johnson over? Like, why is he higher than Jalen Warren then?
Well, why don't we
Why?
do this? Why instead of this, instead of tiering these players right here, why don't you tier the backfield?
Yeah, that's a fair point. Let's
Because
Hampton.
honestly, I mean,
I didn't know what to do. You're right.
yeah, I think if you look at the beginning of the season, LA's backfield is going to be great. I mean, you're getting to a point where you're talking about your third, maybe your second, depending on how you draft, but your third, your fourth, potentially your fifth running backs, right?
Right.
And, yes, take in consideration of Johnny, what he was saying, basically of drafting a backfield if you really want to, go high on that backfield. But, for example, if we're talking about Denver's backfield right now, there's a lot of talk from from Denver saying that J.K. Dobbins already won the position as running back one,
That's right.
right? So I mean, are you gonna feel comfortable with draft capital, drafting basically an RJ Harvey for an end of the season kind of guy, or would you wait and draft basically J.K. Dobbins and have him at, potentially the 12th, 13th round? You're talking about now better capital you can have potentially as an RB2 flex play over a player that potentially could sit in the doghouse for 5 weeks.
No,
I,
that's a good point,
I'm
Johnny. Go
glad
ahead.
I'm glad you brought up Dobbins here. I don't think he's had an entire NFL season where he played all 17 games.
Yes.
If I'm incorrect on that, please let me know. But he cannot stay healthy, even as
You're
talented
you're
as he
incorrect. His 2020 season, he played 16 games.
Okay, that was 5 years ago. We're 5 years later. So if we're gonna put our hat on, oh, the guy played 16 games 5 years ago after all the injuries he's had after that fact, that's not a good bet for me.
It's
I
a new
would rather.
year.
Okay,
He's Harbaugh-less. He has no Harbaugh as a coach.
okay.
I think I think a better way, Tommy, that we should communicate this for anybody who might be listening to this is like ask yourself what you believe about these backfields. Ask yourself what you because basically we're at the point now where you have to call your shot. If you
Yep.
think that Hampton is going to take over sooner than later or is going to have more of a role, go for it. If you think he's not, then Harris is going to be a value. Yada yada down the line for these things. I mean,
Well,
Judkins
the
and like, I mean, if you think Cleveland's not going to be complete garbage, maybe
Well,
Judkins is a better
here's
pick.
again, going into Johnny's wheelhouse with this, basically drafting a
Yes.
backfield of a team, right? So, the thing is, like, you could wait and get a, wait and grab if you think that New England's running back room is going to be ecstatic, it's going to be great. You could wait till the seventh, eighth round and grab both of those players, right? And now you can have potentially an RB2 flex play. The only issue that I have potentially with that is basically now you're gambling two draft picks on two players, right? We're getting away from tiering right now, like from tiers right now, but you're now banking on two draft picks out of potentially 14 or 15 rounds, right? And there goes your depth in those really heavy rounds that you really need to focus on. So, if you're focusing on, a running back room, yeah, that's great, but like if you're
Right.
focusing 100% on a running back room and you're going to take two or potentially three players in those rounds, you can potentially screw your entire roster.
Right. I actually, Tommy, I can't agree with you more. Johnny, I wanted to mention that one other thing about a downside to this. If you're drafting every guy in a backfield, let's just say the two main guys, you're giving yourself less upside. You're taking less shots on other guys who might turn into something. You see what I'm saying? Like imagine imagine that let's just take last year. Let's say you went out of your way to draft ETN and Bigsby. Well, maybe in that same round you could have drafted Chase Brown. And then Chase Brown turned into a monster last year. You see what I'm saying? Like you're taking less shots.
Well, well, we no one projected Chase Brown to do what he did last year to be even drafted. So that's a little bit harder for me to kind of grasp it.
I'm just
Uh,
making the point. Like you're taking less shots for
no,
things
but
that could.
the problem is in today's NFL, so many teams are not doing the featured back almost setup. So even if you look at the tier seven now, what do you have? Nine teams listed there. So there's, a good chunk of the league that is not doing, oh, X guy is going to be getting the majority of the touches. So that's why I'm like, I would rather have a higher floor and guarantee myself X amount of points at my RB2 position, especially if I'm a guy that would rather take receivers and have my receivers be my flexes rather than running backs. Then
I
that's
agree.
a position where I would take the backfield. If you rather work the other way around, then fine. You can take guys early at back if you want to, but I don't know. I would rather have a higher floor at RB2, especially if I'm a guy that's going to go heavy on receiver, than have, the boomer bust for insert, third back in whatever offense here.
This
So,
is to your point. This is why I was kind of like really, and we're spending time on it, which is good. Like I wanted to hammer the point home on really if the guys that you're going to be putting out there that are starting for your team, you at the very least want to make sure if this guy's not getting volume, then he has to have upside. And that's why I was like pushing so hard to be like, all right, do we have 24 guys that we are feeling way more comfortable than these really amorphous, not clear rookie maybe comes over at some point, backfields like that we're pointing out.
I,
So that's
I would make the argument that Trevion Henderson and Omario Hampton are going to be the two probably biggest standouts of the field that are in that tier.
and again, like you say that if you go on like Reddit or if you go on Twitter right now or X, whatever it's called, they will say Judkins. Everybody else is saying Judkins. By the way, and the
Well,
situation in Pittsburgh, if you hear anything coming out of their beat reporters, everybody's talking about Caleb Johnson. He's not the Jalen Warren's great. We've been talking about Jalen Warren for how many years? Like the point, what we're saying is, and Tommy and I said it earlier, pick what you believe. If you believe that, like you said about Henderson, then you're going to be getting him at a value where he's currently going. You grab him maybe a round early, wherever it is, and then you think he's going to turn into the guy. Like you have to call at this point is where you end up calling your shot. There's a point that you get to that point with running backs. You see what I'm saying?
no, but you make a compelling argument. That's not
Right.
lost on me.
Yeah, yeah. Um, So I mean, it really is. It's hard. Like Tommy mentioned, it's like it's difficult to really say what you believe about that stuff. After these backfields, there's any number of names that we could throw out as like, hey, keep an eye out on for some guy. So, Tommy,
Yeah, I
why don't you
mean,
throw
I
out a
think
couple names? What you think?
yeah, I mean, there's a couple names, but I will say like there's really not any like kind of like tier system after this. You're just
Right.
talking
It's
about like, hey, I'm gonna throw a shot out there kind of guy and grab him late in a draft.
right.
To be there's two names that come to my mind that I'm
Sure.
really high on that potentially I could grab this player late in the draft. The first one is Nick Chubb. Everybody forgot about this guy. He's basically spelling Joe Mixon, who can't stay on the field 100% as well too. I think Mixon and Chubb are going to have a great year together. I think Chubb is going to steal a lot of touchdowns from Mixon. And, basically the injury report stating that Chubb's ready to go. Like and Chubb, this is not Chubb's first horrific injury. The one that that was horrific 2 years ago. Um, so I think Nick Chubb is going to have a really good year. I think they're gonna, I think this is, having two big name running backs in that backfield is going to really take away from the throwing game. Um, but I really think that they're going to be able to control this division basically by, running the ball. And Nick Chubb is going to be a very, very primary, um, person on that offense to make sure they're gonna be able to stabilize it. Um,
I don't know if
do you
I
feel,
agree, but your logic is sound. So, like, it's definitely a possibility. Yeah.
Johnny? What do you feel about Chubby?
I don't have a strong opinion either way on Chubb in Houston. I don't think I have any other names to bring up for good late shots.
I got one
So
more guy. I do have one more
Sure.
guy.
Throw him
I was asking you about Chubb. Did you feel good about Chubby? No, you don't feel good about Chubby?
out.
That's fine. My last guy that I do want to talk about is Tajay Spears. When Pollard, was out a couple, on and off, when he came back, Tajay Spears was fantastic. Didn't matter if they were the worst football team in America. Um, Tajay Spears was catching the ball in the backfield. I think they're going to take a step forward with Cam Ward this year. I think that the offense is not going to be electric, but I think that it's not going to be mistake free. There's going to be a lot of mistakes because Ward is a deep thrower. I don't know if you guys watched Miami play last year, but he does throw interceptions. So I think they're going to try to contain that by doing little outside runs, a little outside, passes. And I think Tajay Spears is going to be in a 50-50 split scenario with Pollard. I honestly think by towards the end of the year, Tajay Spears will surpass Pollard as, in fantasy points. Pollard may be the RB1 on the roster, but Tajay Spears will be the RB1 over um, over Pollard. Not
It's
an RB1, but he will be the RB1 on that roster over Pollard,
it's certainly a possibility. It's why I don't. It's
especially in a PPR or half point PPR situation.
it's why I lumped in like Tennessee here because you could be 100% right. It could also take a while. Like we really don't know what to make of it. I could actually everything that you mentioned. I could probably say the same thing about Jordan Mason. I mean, and we both identified Jordan Mason as a late round could be awesome. Like we think he take Jones is not long for this. I mean, it would be, it's been a long time since he's had a fully healthy season. I mean, he was pretty good last year, but it's just another year. He's like 32 now, if I believe it. Like Jordan Mason's another guy, like we could take these late shots on. Any of these other like standout kind of like outside of the amorphous situation names, you've got like your standard kind of backups at this point. Um,
Cordero Patterson,
under no circum,
the gadget,
yeah, he's the gadget, all right. Um,
Inspector Gadget.
So I thought I would also mention Roshan Johnson. So we've got Swift here, and we're feeling pretty good considering They did nothing to address running back position in the draft. They did nothing but improve their offense, offensive line, etc. So we're feeling good about Swift. But we saw talent out of Roshan Johnson at various points last year. Maybe Roshan gets a chance to shine, and maybe he ends up supplanting. Swift has not been the banner of healthiness for X amount of years, but you get him in space, he does pretty good stuff. So he's an interesting name. Johnny, are there any other names we should keep an eye on?
I would say Chardonnay in Seattle. I was just taking a look at the big field of all the tiers here.
Sure.
I'm still baffled that Alvin Kamara is where he is. I mean, Tommy, if you're really high on him, then good for you.
We both
I'll
are.
draft him.
Sorry. Yeah.
You both are going to be dead wrong by the end of the year.
By the end of the
He's going
year.
to be a fantastic flex play.
What about the first 6 weeks?
I don't think he's going to be anything worthwhile to even entertain at this level that you guys haven't listed. So,
Really? Okay. Elaborate. Why do you think that?
have you seen who's playing quarterback in New Orleans? Have you
I
seen the rest of the roster?
I saw who played quarterback last year. Like he was the whole thing.
Okay. Three, you also have to look at, is he going to stay healthy for 17 games? He got
I
drafted.
mean, he was technically healthy. They just were like, this, we ain't touching this guy. When I put him in here,
Right.
he's our star player.
Let's not say 17 games. First 6 weeks.
Well, no, no, Billy, you can't say that because honestly, you don't draft a player for the first 6 weeks,
Well,
especially especially at that high caliber right there. You
I
can't
the way
rank. I mean, the reason why I'm ranking him in tier three is because I'm anticipating him to at least play 15 games this year.
then you're it's funny. Remember how a couple months ago in the offseason it was the opposite. Like I was so high in Kamara, and then you were like, this is and now you've jumped even slightly higher than me on it. It's very
Well,
interesting.
yeah, it's because if you look at the analytics, I mean, he still does fairly well. So, I mean, and then also, I think that they are trying to do some stuff, to make it, score some points. They can't just be they just can't tank a season. They're the New Orleans Saints.
No, that I guess that's a fair point. They're they're not gonna, but he's still going to get every target, and I really do think the first half of the year is going to be unbelievable. So Johnny, I hear your concerns. They're well taken. It's just, I just think it's going to be end up too valuable. But again, you don't have
This
to have a differing opinion.
there's one player, and this is like a wish to the stars kind of something happens to this guy, but my boy Phil Maffa, nobody really knows who he is, but he came from Clemson. He was running back from Clemson. He was drafted by the Dallas Cowboys. He is a tremendous running back, and I really hope he finds his way on the field because he can be a great, great asset to the Cowboys, who I hate so dearly. But um, I think Phil Maffa can see 2 touchdowns this year.
Phil Maffa, who's currently behind a higher drafted running back in Jaden
Phil
Blue in
Maffa, Phil
Dallas.
Maffa is the 127th ranked running back.
The fact that I can name the Dallas back, so we've got Jaden. Oh my gosh, oh my God, I was going to say Jaden Reed. Who's the Dallas? Jaden.
Blue.
J, Jaden Blue's the guy they drafted, but who's
Javonte Williams.
Javonte Williams, Jaden Blue, the
Phil
short guy
Maffa.
who's Phil Maffa, the short guy who's still on the team, Brian something. I forget the other. Like, you've already got like four, and then you've got this other guy that I can't forget that I'm forgetting the name of. You got like five guys there. He's irrelevant. Thanks for bringing him up, but he's irrelevant. Um, it's interesting. Like the Dallas backfield, that's why I have it in here. Like the Dallas backfield's
Oh,
interesting. I
Miles
mean,
Sanders is there too.
and Miles Sanders, that's the guy. Yeah, he got ran out of Carolina. But the Dallas backfield's interesting because we've been saying that Jaden, oh my God, Javonte Williams could end up being a value. It's just on sheer being the guy, at least to start the year for X amount of games. Now we're feeling great about Dak Prescott in the passing game. Maybe they run it 3 times a game. Who knows? Maybe they end up trading for somebody. That'll be interesting. I mean, we've been saying they're the worst backfield in football at the moment. Johnny, any other uh, late names we haven't covered here?
No, I think we've covered just about every other name we need to cover, other than, the backup to some of the bigger names that are on
Yeah,
board,
which
but
is
I don't think that's worth entertaining at this point.
No, I agree with you. Like we said, I mean, there are some backfields that you definitely in the draft, if it works out, try to get a hold of. Garendo is at the top of the list for McCaffrey. Um, I guess Algiers in that category for Bijan.
Let me
Maybe. Yeah, go ahead.
let me ask you guys. I'm going to ask you guys. I'm going to give my opinion. Who is the greatest value when you talk about tier to ADP in your mind? Who is the greatest value this year that you're just so gung ho on drafting?
For me,
Yeah.
that's Brees Hall.
Okay. Billy.
Compared to where we have him, well, it takes I have higher I weighted higher at the higher of the list. So I guess at the moment it's probably Kamara, but actually Kamara's been climbing up the ADP board, so maybe not so much anymore. I would say just looking at this, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. We've got Chuba a couple spots ahead of ADP, which is right about right. I'm feeling pretty good about Chuba. We've got Brees right around where he's going. I can tell you right now who we have lower than where he's going. Bucky, we have way lower. We're feeling really good about Brian Robinson. We've been identifying that as a really, really
One
great.
player. One player.
If I had to pick one player for our, because like we said, we have Prescott at QB. I would say right now we probably have probably Robinson. I would
Okay.
say
Yeah, I agree with that. And my player is Travis Etienne.
he's right there, right
I
there.
think,
Yep.
basically right now, Travis Etienne, his ADP is falling in about the 10th round to get a running back, even if he's splitting carries
Running
with our
back
boy,
38,
yeah, with which what's his name,
Bigsby.
Bigsby,
Bigsby was
Tank
bad
Bigsby.
too. So
Yeah, I mean, I think honestly that ETN is the most versatile back in that backfield. When healthy, he is a great up the gut runner as well too. He's going to score that touchdown. So I think that, it's great to have somebody that's going to spell him, but I think that he is the primary guy back there. Even if he's getting 75% of snaps, which I think is going to be more. Um, Value wise, he could finish the year as an RB2, and you're drafting him in the 10th round. So
yep, I agree. I agree with you, especially with how high that we have him.
I think his ADP is going to jump. I think he's going to be an eighth round pick this year. But as of right now, if your draft started today, you're taking him in the ninth, 10th round, and it's pretty impressive to be able to grab a player of that caliber. Because I mean, just think about it. The past, obviously he was injured, but past years before that, he was a tremendous asset to fantasy football. I mean, some people were drafting him in the first round.
Right. Which is considering how bad it busted. But again, sometimes the wounds are so bad that
Oh yeah, I mean.
they blind you from
He
making an
wasn't. He
accurate
didn't
assessment.
McCaffrey. He didn't McCaffrey people back to back years. So
Right. Yeah, so there we go. I like where this is at. We'll flesh this out a bit more. We'll revisit this later in the off season. But our first pass at this is right about right. We identified some of the guys, and I'm feeling pretty good about this. We'll be covering wide receivers next week. It's gonna be a big time episode.
yeah,
Any
the next week's episode is going to take about 3 hours. So
No,
everybody,
it's not.
hold on to your seats.
No, it's not. I know the guys we're gonna disagree on, so I'll prep that. Closing thoughts, Mr. Lang?
Yeah, again, we truly appreciate everybody that takes the time to watch the video. If you could share, subscribe. We're on TikTok, X, all the apps, everywhere. Find us for our shorts, like our page. Johnny, do you like our page?
I do.
He
Good.
likes it so hard.
Likes it so hard. All right. Well, we appreciate everybody taking the time to listen to Fantasy Football University, FFU, Billy. FFU, Johnny. Have a great night.
FFU, everybody. Good night. Good night.